Welcome, my name is Timothy Halloran. I am an evolutionary astrologer, and in these videos we discuss what is the nature of the times. Some profound times indeed. What's that? Is this the very first video that I'm posting after the actual event of the new or full moon itself? I believe that for the first time in 12 years, I'm talking about a new moon that has already occurred several days ago on November 1st. Good news, though, my friends. Those of you who have followed my work for some time know that this new moon, in all of its intricacy, is also a snapshot that will affect the entirety of the next month. The reason this new moon, the reason why November is going to be so damn intense, and we see all sorts of symbolism I'll dig a bit into, is the fact that this new moon, which was again on Friday, November 1st, is in Scorpio, ruled by Pluto at the last degree of Capricorn. Okay, so in a few days from now, I might post in the YouTube Shorts section. This is our last moon Pluto occultation in the sign of Capricorn. This is big deal stuff. This is the end. This is the end. This is the breakdown. This is the shit it out, to be quite frank, because it can be pretty messy, pretty intense, pretty heavy, and pretty real, and it can get pretty mean when it comes to both Scorpio and Capricorn. These are the signs that deal the most with not only reality, but the facets of reality that are least comfortable to our squishy human egos. Okay, so again, this entire month of November, heralded by the new moon, ruled by Pluto, last degree of Capricorn, very intense month ahead. Now, Pluto is going to leave Capricorn. Thank God. We're going to experience a significant shift. A significant shift. Like whatever it's been for a while, you know, there's going to be a shift here. And I forgot to initiate my video by explaining the reason why it's late. Well, I was just in a car accident a couple days ago and nearly died once again, and somehow made it out. I'm totally fine. I have a hard time requesting funds, but if you do feel called to support the repairs that will be needed to happen on my machine, I'll put some info in the video description. Now, my guess is this experience and this feeling, which could be called dread in the pit of our stomachs, probably is not just felt by myself alone, if I had to guess, especially since these videos tends to reach sensitive ears. So to put it short, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here. You know, I'm a little late for Halloween, but this is where you scrape the gunk out of the pumpkin before you create a beautiful masterpiece that will, of course, impress everybody for the rest of your life. But that's the scraping, the scooping out. It's messy, it's gooey, it's unpleasant, it's heavy. There literally could be all sorts of symbolism of stuff getting clogged or unclogged, or things dissolving, or things breaking, or things separating. I mentioned in my last video how I cannot wait for the moon's nodes to change signs at the end of this year, because it's been the North Node in Aries the last 18 months. And a part of what I've learned the last 18 months is Aries is a very challenging sign to embody, to be, to hold, to explain. And I have done lots of explanations, so I'm not going to be a broken record here. I've talked a lot about anger. I've talked about it being a defensive, protective emotion, and when anger arises, there need be separation. So this last year, 2024, the whole year, the moon's north node has been in Aries. Separation. Go our own way. Now, we are in a point of like absolutely breaking down. Like, if we have been resisting what needs to change, this could be a really messy breakdown. But if we're aware of these are big pieces that need to change, and we need to sit down with some powerful people and have some real conversations here about money and job and who's a friend and, who's more of a neighbor. Again, we have these concentric circles. That's a part of what we've been working out this year with the North Node in Aries as well. It's not like we're separating from everybody, but there's a hell of a lot of people I don't want to live with. And I've never been happier to live by myself in my entire life. It's the first time I have been able to live by myself, and I have literally been brought to tears by how content I am living here with my cat, because there are no people interfering in my life and fucking everything up, which has been my pattern going on decades. That's my personal hope for my own personal completion of Pluto through Capricorn. Pluto's transit of Capricorn is literally to end oppressive patterns. So it brings up all themes to do with authority figures, power dynamics, which means ulterior motivations, because people think that power dynamics don't exist everywhere they do. They exist everywhere. Every relationship has power dynamic. So do we know what that power dynamic is? Is it fair? Is it working? It's probably going through a significant readjustment at this time. This is the type of reprioritization. And all of this Capricorn stuff that I keep coming back to, again, this is why November is so critically important. It's the last new moon ruled by Pluto in Capricorn of our lifetime. So we're going to experience this intensity. Look at the underbelly of our planet this entire month. And I cannot wait to get to the other end of it, because once Pluto moves into Aquarius, it's not like everything flips a switch and we suddenly start entering the Jetsons era, although it will appear more like the Jetsons era about 2 decades from now. It's more of a releasing. It's time to break free. It's time to break the rules. It's time to break down the conditioning, which includes conditioning of what is good or bad. As I mentioned, Gemini, or Jupiter stationing in Gemini a couple weeks ago, brought up this question of circumstantial reality and what is true and what is not true dependent on circumstance. Now, Venus is opposite to that Jupiter right now. Venus has been with the ever so wise asteroid Pallas Athena and Lilith. So there's been some real wisdom of how can we honor our own natural way of filling ourselves up. And this opposition to Jupiter may give us some not only opportunities to discover that, but I would suggest actually setting up the experiment to discover. Like how Goldilocks tried Mama and Papa Bear's oatmeal before she found the oatmeal that's just right. Go to the all-you-can-eat buffet that is Jupiter in Gemini. Go to school, go to class, learn this extra thing. Of course, join Timothy Halloran's Evolutionary Astrology School. I've heard it's the best in existence. This is a time where we can be doing more. Venus opposite to Jupiter is a diversifying, it's an expanding, and it's an excitement. You know, this is also a time where we can get really terrific feedback from other people. Like, hey, let's take a look at the big picture perspective. And, you know, this trigger happened on this one day, which was on the surface, but that's actually exposing this, I don't know how to describe it, fissure, crevasse that leads thousands of miles down to the molten core of the earth. So that's what we're talking about. Little triggers on the surface can take us all the way down into some of the deepest power dynamics and some of the deepest struggles that we came here to face. What I'm letting you know is that this is the month where we are facing these things. That is the potency of Scorpio and Capricorn. These are the no-nonsense signs. This is where you get mafia bosses. And the mafia bosses don't play the same rules of the game that others do. And the mafia bosses don't take shit the way others do. Now, the problem with a transit like this, which is also Mars opposite to Pluto right now, well, it was technically yesterday, but this, boy, can this trigger some things. And these triggers can really, really change our direction. There's major change of direction beginning first week of November here. But what was my point with mafia bosses? I don't want to glorify mafia bosses. What was my point with that? Maybe it will come better back. Maybe the point was simply that that's the type of time it is. It's like we're seeing these types of figures in the world, the real world, you know, devils, for lack of a better word, and we are also getting a very, very clear version of this in ourselves. If we're not able to see our inner oppressor, if we're not able to see the lineage of how we can potentially become abusive to others because of the past experiences of abuse that we personally have received. If we don't know what that is, we are dangerous. If we know where we can become an oppressor, if we know what our buttons are that turns us into a mafia boss, then we can have a fair degree of control over our lives, and we can actually evolve and change in a positive way. Whereas these types of transits could also be like beating a dead horse to the point where there's no possibility for resolution or rectification or coming back together. I don't see that being the case. I don't see that being the case in a lot of these instances. And I know how people are when they tune into The Astrologer on YouTube. You think that I'm speaking to you personally and that everything is meant for you individually, and that is certainly not the case. So this may not be true, but it is certainly a generality that 2024 is the year being single is hot. And even people we've been friends with for a very long time, there can be changes of dynamics here. And it has to do with this Pluto transit. It actually has to do with why our souls are here. We're not doing the same things. We're not on the same mission, you know. So I'm not the type of person who could do a 9-to-5 desk job that pays the bills and then goes to the bars or baseball stadiums for fun with friends and be satisfied. My soul would die. Now, there's a lot of people on the planet that actually fulfills their soul. And I think that's wonderful for them. And I don't think we should make fun of them. even though we could, because I know none of them are watching this video. The point is, each of us must go our own way, which is the theme of 2024. But it's not a forever track. These separations is going to ultimately bring us into an increasingly harmonious relationship with the collective. And that is actually indicated by the transit of the moon's north node from Aries into Pisces on January 11th. Okay, so let's get one more constipated part out, and then I got some good, shiny, sparkly, fun stuff to wrap it up. All right. So Mars is opposite to Pluto right now. Pluto's at the very last degree of Capricorn, so whenever a planet is making a major aspect to Pluto right now, it's major. There's huge turning of corners. There's huge changing of directions. Our whole sense of what we wanted to do literally could have changed in the last 24 hours while Mars completed his transit of Cancer, went opposite to Pluto, and then just entered Leo as of just now. Hooray! That may have seemed really exaggerated, but for those of you who have suffered so intensely the last 2 months, now you get why I'm so excited for Mars to finally be in Leo, where Mars is much more happy. So Mars, unfortunately, this is going to be where Mars is left off as the ruler of the moon's north node. Mars in Leo will rule the moon's north node until the moon's nodal shift in early January. Okay, this in and of itself is a very potent signature because this says creative time, do it your way time. Now it's time to be seen. If you haven't been seen, if you have passionately been working on something for so many years and it hasn't been respected, this can be a time where things can really seriously change. And I'm getting a little emotional because of all my extended friends and family, none of them are into astrology. And that's something that's going to change for me. You betcha. Astrology is way too valuable for the people that are close to me to see it as something that's a fairy tale or a way of manipulating people. No one close to me is going to be able to have those beliefs. But I'm the type of person who used to be so generous and open-minded, and I want to help everybody else with their thing. That's how I've always been. I had to realize and learn the hard way that nobody is returning that. Nobody is helping me with my astrology. I've been doing this for 12 years completely by myself. When Pluto goes into Aquarius, I cannot wait because it's going to change. But as a personal example, now that Mars is in Leo and I'm like, woo, it's going to be creativity. Like, I'm going to be on the website. We're going to completely redesign it. It's going to be much more supportive of what this world needs, getting, the right pieces to the right people and having it not just be astrology, this, that, the other thing, because that was always my intention. So there's going to be some major creative birth now through the end of 2024. There's tension in relationship. There's tension between what's mine and what's yours. There may be some tension in regards to what is really my part or piece to do or to be, or whether or not these projects are the correct places or projects. So there's a lot going on relationally where the pot's getting stirred. New moon in Scorpio, ruled by Pluto, last degree Capricorn. Again, this could be a mean month. This can be a violent month. It is an overall more dangerous month. Please be more careful. But I mean that a little bit more emotionally than I simply mean physically. Like, protect your hearts. We need solid foundation right now. Like, real solid foundation. People who really have our backs. People who really understand who we are. Not people that we just like have some hobby, you know. I think that there's too many people confused into believing that that's what friendship is. And there's a starvation of real intimacy and real connection. So the beauty of this new moon is how it trines Saturn. So I think there's a beautiful opportunity here for us to create almost spiritual support systems. And I know who I'm speaking to. Y'all can get a little far out, as can I. So this could literally be, how can we flush all of this ancient oppression that's going to come up, and it's going to be heavy, and it's going to be mean, and it's going to sound a little bit like, I hate you, and it's going to sound a little bit like, how could you? Because that is the truth. That's the worlds we've lived in for the most part. I'm living on a house on stolen land where the original people that lived here were nearly driven into extinction. This is the world in which we live. Pluto's completion of Capricorn is no joke. That's the level of stuff I'm talking about here. I'm talking about generation after generation of oppression, and how we have inherited that in our souls, and then we become oppressors to ourselves, and then by becoming oppressors to ourselves, we become oppressive to others. So we need to learn how to communicate. That's a big learning curve with Jupiter currently retrograde in Gemini. There's also a lot of opportunity for us to improve our communication skills now through the first half of 2025 immensely. I think this is probably one of the most missing and needed skills on the planet at this time, similarly with emotional intelligence, and it really goes hand in hand. You have to be able to communicate. We have to be able to exchange ideas so that way we're where we need to be. And if we find ourselves somewhere we don't need to be, because this is the month that we might find ourselves stuck in the wrong place, or a situation that's not really relevant to us or not really true about who we are. It's more this archaic, ancient mirror of the oppressor of the past. Maybe it's the psychic entropy of what our father told us when we failed our first math exam. I know when I failed my first math exam, my dad took me to a library and forced me to check out a whole bunch of math books and set them down on the table and told me to just start reading them. And I asked him why, and he would say nothing. We've all experienced some pretty harsh shit. That wasn't harsh compared to what my father had to go through as a child. But this is what Capricorn is. Capricorn is Saturn, it's karma, it's generation, after generation of oppression that gets handed down nearly choicelessly. Because I was also not allowed to emotionally express. When I cried myself to sleep, my father would come into the room and scream in my face, which created emotional processing disorders. And I can be the first to admit that I struggle with anger sometimes. I think that I've mentioned that quite a lot this last year, saying, hey, I'm kind of a shining example of anger and what that's like and how challenging that is and how you have to hold it and how you have to hot potato it. And so I am going to conclude on this note. Anger is one of the most important emotions that we have. Had I never been angry at my father, do you think I ever could be who I am before you today? In any small sense. So let's take a look at our relationships. Let's take a look at the groups, the places we're living, the communities we're a part of, the organizations we're a part of. Are they fair? Are these bureaucracies? Does it work for us? This is going to I'm wrapping it up now, but this is going to boil down to, do you fit the puzzle? Does your puzzle piece fit the puzzle? And most of us are going to experience this month that it doesn't. And this is where it's really important that we don't get out a hammer and try to fucking hammer that puzzle piece that doesn't fit in. What we do is we take that puzzle piece that doesn't fit this puzzle. We'll try this puzzle instead. Oh, okay, it doesn't fit over here. We'll try this puzzle piece instead. Well, that doesn't work. Okay, we'll try this puzzle piece instead. Because what it is that we're actually building this month, with all this Scorpio, Capricorn I keep speaking to, is building a fundamentally new reality. And a part of this new reality with Pluto entering into Aquarius is that we're going to be far more interconnected than how we used to be. It used to be your job is you're a shoveler, so you're a shoveler. You are a partner, so you're somebody's partner. You're a mom or you're a dad. I'm not saying that's how it used to be up until the last few centuries. I'm saying that's how it used to be up until this moment. And I'm letting you know it's going to change. We're not going to always introduce ourselves to each other by asking, hello, what do you do? As in, what is your career? This is much more moving in the direction of, what humanitarian movement are you a part of? What progressive stance do you take? What new era of healing or teaching or technology are you going to be participating within? Because what is guaranteed is that the old is going out. I could give millions of examples, but an easy one is schooling. We still teach children in schools in the year 2024 the way we taught children in schools in the 40s. I think we need a little bit of an update as to what this actual reality is. So Pluto completing Capricorn is going to be about changing the very foundation, structures, systems, governments are going to really change. So as much as I mentioned this being a heavy, painful month, also our United States of America election, won't that be fascinating? Because though I'm an astrologer, I never proclaim to have the ability to predict the future. I do not. But one thing I will tell you is one way or another, things are going to majorly change these next coming years in this election in the United States. is certainly relevant. That's going to determine what type of Pluto into Aquarius this is. And if you know a little bit about Aquarius, you know exactly what I mean. And if you don't know what I mean, that's okay, because we're going to save it for the next time. And if you can't wait till next time and need to know right now, that's okay too, because you can go to RasaLeelaCommunity.com. That is where my astrology school is hosted, and you can get a nearly complete curriculum. It is an ongoing process. It is a monthly subscription, and I add a new lesson every month. But the main gist is complete. So the astrology school has all of the it's probably close to 100 hours of video to absolutely be able to begin evolutionary astrology and to be able to begin reading highly accurate birth chart readings. So I hope that you'll join us. We'll also have a Q&A coming up. I haven't announced it yet, so go to the Rasa Leela community webpage. That's where you can always stay in tune with me. I also just put the chat room back up on the community so we can keep the conversation rolling. I hope to see you there. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. And as always, take care. It's a big one. Extra love around your loved ones. Extra protection around your loved ones. And the messy work that needs to get done to move to the new and finally get this horrible, shitty phase, even if it's a little painful and a little messy, let it be so we can finally get on to the next, the new, the bright, and the better. That is my prayer for you and for I. Much love to you.